12 points in the paint first quarter last night versus the Mavericks had the TD Garden rocking on the night before Thanksgiving, and for Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics, they notched a win over the Dallas Mavericks, further improving their record to 14-4, holding the best record in the NBA. After a heartbreaking finals loss, Jaylen Brown really put in a lot of work during the offseason to come back new and improved, and it has certainly been on display this season. Putting up averages of 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists per game, Jaylen is dropping it in at effective rates of a scorching high 50% from the field and 35% from deep. There were some critiques about Brown's game last year, such as his handle being sloppy at times and not being very consistent overall, but as the start of this season, it looks as he has made those improvements. It's this possession in the first quarter that shows the progression as Brown gets the easy pickings off this Finney-Smith pass, uses the through the legs behind the back to retreat away from the pressure, then further gets control of the ball pushing up the floor, and once attacking Finney-Smith, he gives this slight bump to move him out the way while cradling the ball to the other side to then lay it in with that left hand. And then later on in the game, JB uses that sharp behind the back to shift Luka out his way and attack the paint, stays controlled through the wood swipe down, and sinks to and one. Brown's slashing game is elevating to another level right in front of our eyes, and with his 6'6" strong frame, he looks to punish defenders when en route to the basket. Being 4th in the league in transition possessions at 5.6 per game, Brown converts 58% of his 4 attempts, and this is where Brown is just in his natural habitat. Catching the ball on the wing off the break here, you see Brown pause for a split second, then explodes right out, cradles it once Dort reaches in, and as Robinson slides over to contest, Brown takes it strong right at him, laying it home. Now, being strong after taking it off the dribble is one thing, but JB can also slide defenders out his way with a shifty cross and then get crafty with his finishes around the rim. It's really pick your poison how you want to stop him on the break, but you better make the decision fast or you'll end up like Donovan Mitchell on the play. The pace up the floor matched with the array of finishes on the break translates right into the half-court offense for Jaylen, and this is where he starts knifing through the defense at a high level. With the improved handle, we're seeing tighter moves from Brown when breaking down defenders, and then with all that underwater training he went through during the offseason, it has made a huge difference in his explosiveness out the combos and those size-ups. Watch as Brown snatches back on IO here, he hesitates for a second, but once that gap is present, Jaylen bursts right through like a running back and goes to finish this off the glass with the left. Cashing it in at a 65% rate in the restricted area, this is a large bulk of Brown's scoring so far this season, and it's just immensely hard to keep him in front of you with his sturdy handle. When coming at you, JB is changing speeds quickly into these crossovers and then is crafty enough to beat you down low. And then when defenders are trying hard to stay in front of him, Brown is serving up many moves to keep defenders tap dancing, and before you know it, he's past you laying it in for 2 more points. If you've been watching the Celtics this season, you know it's these screens coming off the top of the key that leads his pursuit to the basket, and off these you can really see the explosiveness off the dribble to the rack. My favorite one this season has to be this one versus the Knicks. As Jaylen comes off the screen, he's looking off the defender while pounding this in and out dribble, explodes out of it and is already at the rim laying it in. It's exciting to watch Jaylen shake defenders with his ball handling, but without the strength, none of this would even pay off. Since Brown's constantly slashing to the basket, more than likely he's going to be bodying up with bigger defenders and possibly even 2 defenders at times. So you have to have a high level of control and be tough enough to play through the contact and still finish. Already this season, Jaylen is great at initiating the contact first to bump the defenders out his way and then use that off arm to shield the defenders off of him. Whether someone is in his way to the basket or they decide to contest him at the rim, Brown is finding ways to use his body to still score the bucket. As Mobley gets caught out in front of Jaylen on this play, Brown turns on the jets and goes right at him, stays strong through the reach in bodying Mobley off and finishes the and one. Then when attacking off this pump fake, as Jones rotates down for the block, JB uses that offhand to shield him off while extending out with the right and stays focused to lay it in for another and one. As you can tell, it's getting harder and harder to stay in front of Jaylen on these drives, and with the great floor spacing from the Celtics, it allows for more lanes to be open for Brown to go create for himself. But after cooking defenders in the paint all game, or let's say the defense is doing a solid job keeping him out the paint, well, Brown is knocking down nearly 59% of his mid-range attempts this season. He's smooth at getting into these pull-ups around the floor, and he's mixing it up with some step backs, fadeaways, and even some turnarounds out the post. He's making these very tough shots like he does here after stepping back out the elbow, and Jaylen's focus, regardless if anyone has their hand in his face, is making him a sniper on these difficult shots, and tying that with his handle with the quick moves gets him into his jumper really fast. Then there's other times where JB will slow it down and hit a nice turnaround midi over defenders, just making the day on the job look light. Here he just slows it down, gives Cade a couple hard bumps, and then fades over him to knock it down. And then even with some hounding pressure from KCP, Brown still gets into a spin off of him and fades back with a hand in his face to bury it home. It's a scary game defenses are playing with Jaylen Brown at the moment. Do you want to play up tight and make him put it on the deck to go score at the rim, or do you want to sag off a little and make him show you his jumper? Either way, this season, JB is making defenses pay and he's drilling these mid-ranges at a high clip, and when stepping back behind the arc, Brown is shooting at a decent rate of 35% on 6 attempts per game. When breaking it down a little further, you can see a bulk of Jaylen's 3-point attempts come off the catch and shoot opposed to the pull-up, and he's draining it at a respectable rate. This Celtics team has very good ball movement, and with that you must have very good player movement as well, and JB participates right in that. Brown finds the right spots on the court, and it's plays like this that get the team chemistry and the crowd going wild.
Blocked by Tatum. Jaylen Brown for three.
Running off screens in the half court has been a big focal point to his shooting as well, and Jaylen looks mighty comfortable when doing so. You can try to stay out on him, but the Celtics make the defense collapse and rotate so much, and by the time it hits Brown's hands, he's showing no hesitation and he's letting it fly. Finding that sweet spot of when to shoot it and when to take it to the hoop is something JB is still working on, but for the most part, I can't really harp too much on the shot selection. To get better, you must take some difficult ones, and although you might take some at the wrong time, well, if you make it, then everyone's pretty much happy. So I think throughout the season, we will see Brown improve even more on his shooting from the outside, as he is already shooting the lights out in the mid-range area. Jaylen is putting it together on all 3 levels, and I think he is very underrated as a player. I think soon he will get his respect. The Celtics and Jaylen Brown are off to a great start this season, and with the dynamic duo of Brown and Tatum, things are looking like they will be right in the future for the Boston Celtics. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like before you head over to watch the Jayson Tatum analysis, and I thank you all for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.